Hey, welcome back everybody. Jeff Frick here, coming to you from the Egen Lounge at the House of Blues here in Mandalay Bay. We're at Google Cloud Next. I think it's 25,000 people talking about what's next. And what's next is a whole lot of agentic AI. That's right, that has really been the topic of the keynote, and we're going to get into it all day long. We're excited to have our next guest from Google Cloud. He is Jon Ford, the Director of Service Delivery from Google Cloud. Jon, great to see you.
No, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So you've been at this for a while, and in fact, you came at it from kind of a different perspective. You spent 20 plus years in the FBI. How did you go from the FBI to jump over to technology?
Yeah, it was actually a great ride. Honestly, before that, I was a police officer and working a lot of violent crime. And then around 9/11, I was in the Bureau, and we started the first cyber task forces. And actually, I started the first one that we had. We used to call them NIPSI back in the day, National Information Protection.
Okay.
And just realizing that the future of crime and the future of capabilities was really going to be online and on the web. And so we started really creating what would that look like for the future. I moved around the Bureau for a little bit, went into DC, came back out, worked in the state of Texas as one of the cyber supervisors before getting to working with our DoD counterparts. And then as I retired out of the Bureau, came over to Mandiant and started with our partner Ron Bouchard, who's our Chief Security Officer now. And we were building out the global government business at the time. And then in 2022, Google acquires Mandiant. Okay. So voila, here we are today, and it's been a great journey.
Awesome. So let's talk about security in general. I mean, security is always an issue. There's data security, there's governance issues, there's risk of stuff getting out. And now the bad guys have AI,
yes.
And they're not afraid to use it as fast as they possibly can.
Right.
So how do we continue to kind of stay ahead of the game in this cat and mouse security thing that just keeps going and going and going?
We were just listening to, Ron was just having his address with several of the CISOs around the United States. And part of the topic was about, and I don't know if your readers have looked at it, your viewers have ever looked, but Mandiant puts out an annual report every year called M-Trends. And we put out ours from 2025, and it's a culmination of every incident response that we have done and other things that we've done. And what we gathered for that, the average time now for adversaries to actually get on network and create a foothold is 22 seconds, which is orders of magnitude greater than last year. And quite frankly, that's already pretty much out of date, and we're seeing it even faster. So, leveraging AI, you can't even file a ticket for an alert that came in 22 seconds. We are definitely seeing that trend go down, and going down to sub-seconds soon probably is not a far stretch.
So that's a really scary proposition, because the other thing that we see is in the security roles, if you want to go onto a website and look at open roles, there's no better category than security. There's not enough people to fill the open roles. Now the demand is increasing. So how do you think about, kind of the talent shortage and really bringing more resources to help fight the bad guys?
We work with a ton of universities and cities and states, as you can imagine, around the US. And the talent pool has always continuously been a problem. There is no doubt about that. We have seen some rather clever opportunities where states and cities are really leveraging, and some universities too, of seeing Department of Defense personnel who are coming out of service, or maybe they're going through an ROTC program and they're really trying to get them learned in cybersecurity right away. And in some cases, universities are bringing them into their SOC so they get real world practice and not just a degree that's coming out. So understanding that pipeline is really going to fill into that. And we at Google really support that. We have several universities that we support in that space, as well as, we really do think, like today, you can go on and create your own agent while you're here at Next and learn how to do that and see what you can come up with and solve a problem. But definitely leveraging data capability is going to be what you're going to need in the future.
So is agentic AI an order of magnitude scarier from the security point of view, because now I'm giving it the ability to actually do things at fast speed?
I look at it the opposite.
Function?
No, I look at it the opposite. From our perspective, from the defensive perspective, it's giving us a lot more capability to meet the adversary and beat the adversary where we can. We just have to think about the problems differently. We can't think about security in the traditional way of a vulnerability was identified, and then we're going to go try to find it and have Patch Tuesday. Like that's gone out the window, so we have to really move forward and think about how we're going to be differently when we do see those vulnerabilities. Immediately we're putting compensating controls and capabilities around that and using AI to support that. Because quite frankly, we used to think about AI as a chatbot. We'd ask it a question, it responds to an answer. Today, we want it to think for us and push that information to the human to enable.
Right, and to do something, right? And to follow up, book that ticket or book, do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about customers and customer success. Everyone's been trying POCs and trying to get their AI adoption so they can report back to the board that yes, we are on board.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, not all the POCs succeed. And in fact, I think the number one issue I saw of all CIOs when it comes to AI is POCs and projects that don't fail and ROI. Yeah, it sounds good, but we're not seeing the return.
Right.
What are some of the things you see out there that differentiate a successful project POC, I hate to even use POC, project that then grows into something bigger versus those that just stall or never really go anywhere?
Yeah, and that unfortunately is true, right? As Google, we're a partner-first organization, right? Aegin is a partner of ours as well, right? And what we really see out there is when we see a development or deployment of something by someone just in a very general way, like we're going to deliver you this capability, thank you very much, and we're walking away from that, those don't do very well, just to be very candid. But, where the way we look at it as Google, and I know our partners, and especially Aegin looks at it, is like we consider like a university a customer, but we're going to consider the researchers as our clients.
Right.
How are we building capabilities for them, making sure the user experience is great for them, and getting rid of those bottlenecks that they may come across, and be a partner with them through that journey. And when we're partnering with them, and they're side by side with Google engineers and Aegin engineers, and they're really building upon what they do, and they see all the cool things that they're actually producing, and they can report back to the board, that's a winning combination.
I was going to say, let's talk about the SUNY project.
Okay.
State University of New York, big giant, I think 50 some odd campuses, 400,000 odd students, whatever. It's a big organization.
Yeah.
And then you think, wow, what is the AI potential there, right? It's all kinds of things between the teachers, the students, the researchers, and everything else. So when you got into that project, how do you eat the elephant, right? One bite at a time. How's that gone? And then where do you see when the client kind of comes to that moment like, oh my gosh, we could do this? Well then, wow, maybe we could do that and we can do that, and where they really start to grab the initiative.
Yeah, 100%, and it really does come down to that. Like, you can't treat the customer as the entity, you got to treat the client as, in this case, let's say researchers as an example on the SUNY project. When we're there working with those researchers, it's order of magnitude better experience for them all. Creating their UI experience just for them pays dividends going down the way, because they're the ones that are going to need to use this at the end of the day. It can't be a general capability experience for them. And at the end of the day, if you align yourself as a partner to them, and we kind of talk about it in a way of like, what's time to science, right? They have to move quicker too. They want to be able to leverage all the AI capabilities that they possibly can to get their research where they need to go. And the partnership between, in this case, like Aegin creating like front-end capabilities, using back-end capabilities of GCP, as well as BigQuery and other things that we have provided for them, has really provided a lot of momentum in that research space with SUNY. So we're seeing rapid adoption across all 64 campuses across there, and just quite frankly, rapid adoption across politically also adopted, because we're not the only AI game in town.
Right.
But we're seeing a very quick, rapid adoption of ours. And we're hearing accolades back as well.
So you're not the only game in town, but I'm curious, you came in via the Mandiant acquisition, when you now have the power of Gemini behind you, and we all see Gemini every day and on our Chrome browser, right? I did some stuff with robotics. We see the Gemini Robotics Foundation models, crazy ridiculous. Now you've got Gemini for government, you've got Gemini for enterprise. How has that tool changed the way that you're able to operate with your partners and your customers?
Almost all the partners that I work with, definitely for sure, are like Gemini first organizations. And just showing what the power, think of what Google has done, right? when we were a Mandiant, we would consider ourselves some of the best in the world in security. And we always wondered even about the acquisition. When we were acquired, we were thinking about what is that going to mean for us in the future? And we were always like, well, Google's some of the best engineers on the planet. And if we can couple that security story with the engineering story, what is that going to mean? Because the topics also move to how are we going to secure this AI? And especially in a research environment where there's critical information that's in there.
Right.
We want to ensure that everybody's having the best experience, including those who provided that data as well. So, that match and marriage that occurred early on and leveraging Gemini, we use it every day in what we do for our incident responses as Mandiant. Our partners are using for how they're doing security. Egon is also a great security partner of ours in these areas, and they're providing security for SUNY as well in some of their managed services.
Yeah. So how are things changing in terms of speed of adoption when you and Egon go into a place like SUNY compared to the old days where there was a long, exhaustive process and they came up with an RFP and they're gonna buy some ERP and it's gonna take 6 months to plug in, right? We're long past those days. But how do you kind of rapid prototype, work with a partner and a customer who maybe doesn't have a rapid procurement system on the back end and, as you said, politically doesn't necessarily move really fast as an agile tech company?
Look, let's all be candid. Procurement is probably one of the things that slows down innovation, by far. I was just talking to one of the board of directors last week about, quite frankly, the acquisition process and get through all of that is keeping them from being a secure place. And that is absolute truth that you're speaking. Now, though, but if they can get to where they do and they do actually procure it, it's really valuable that everybody is at the table at the same time and continues this journey, right? We, as part of Google, we have a group called the Rapid Innovation Team, and they support, when we get in there, we're like, let's show you what a Google life could be like. And we did something very similar with Egon in this case. We were there, we were working with them, we had everybody in the room, we're designing what they needed to do their jobs and make sure that they were heard. And by ensuring that they were heard and building that designs and ensuring that's not just from the researchers, how can I do my job better? How can I find more grants? How can I be the best researcher out there for what I'm trying to do? But we also had the other side of the house, is like, well, how can we be the most secured? How can we be the most compliant at the same time? How are we protecting the data to ensure that that's answered for Board of Regents, as an example? We have to make sure that the whole thing is addressed. And with Gemini and with our partners that we have, especially like Egon, we've really moved fast in that space and we've seen accelerated adoption in there. Just quite frankly, I've got some of the best accolades from SUNY that I've ever heard, quite frankly, in the last year from many organizations.
And how big is a client team on one of those rapid things when they're first getting started? Because you talk about people seeing it in their own, their own version of the web, right? The researchers see what they want to see the way they want to see it. How small is that when it really gets started to really get that seed planted?
The teams ebb and flow for sure, right? So we see, like at the very beginning, we're using maybe 5 to 10 people.
Okay.
We have some projects, not this one in particular, but other projects that can scale up even beyond that, just based on the needs of what's going on. But it can scale back as well. So what we typically see is there's a higher upfront that we have a lot more people involved, and then we scale back as we move forward, and make that team a lot more agile as they're moving through there. We want to have, we don't want to have a static plan going forward, because as we want the researchers at the very beginning to be using this capability and get their immediate feedback. So we're not developing something for X months and then they say, well, we have a laundry list of all these things we want to change. We want to iteratively take those changes to make their experience the best every single day.
Right, awesome. All right, so any special priorities for 2026 you want to highlight?
Well, Gemini, for sure, absolutely. We have great security projects, for those who are seeing what now security operations has become to be. We've acquired Wiz now as another provider for our security. One of the things I do love about Google, like a lot about Mandiant, is that, we look at cyber as an ecosystem. So, we're trying to protect everyone's data. We're trying to make sure that you can get to everyone's data and make the best out of your investment. So, really look at all sides of the portfolio of everything that we're trying to achieve. Don't limit yourself. Bringing people to ask, what is that possibility? What's that art of the possible? Let us have those conversations with you, and let's just move that ball forward every single day, and just, quite frankly, keep keep making dunks.
I love it. I love this, the whole, computing by intention, not by program. Right? What do you want to do? And we'll figure out how to get you there versus
Absolutely.
writing the instruction.
100%.
All right, John. Well, super exciting. Thanks for taking a few minutes. I know you're busy running around from meeting to meeting, so it's great to grab a few minutes with you.
No, thank you very much.
All righty.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
He's John, I'm Jeff. You're watching from the Egen Lounge here at Google Cloud Next at the House of Blues. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.